record on this computer. All right, so we're gonna just jump right into it before I mess anything up. We're already recording here.
Okay.
Guys, thanks for checking this out. This is a little story of my cousin here, Matt Zagoda. He is just a year older than me. Became a father in his mid-20s as well. But what you might not be able to tell about Matt is Matt struggled with his weight for the majority of his life until these past 5 years. He's made this amazing transformation. And it's, he's a family member, but I probably see him not frequently enough, but maybe 3 or 4 times a year. And I kept seeing him getting leaner and more toned. And so he's lost now to date about 95 pounds since he started his journey. And what I want him to kind of get into is tell you how he started. What was your starting point? And give us that breakdown of where you were really like, I have to start doing something about this.
Yeah. So I would say rock bottom was 7 years ago when my son was born. That even the week of his birth was just probably my worst. I was hooked up to like a heart monitor, a blood pressure machine, monitoring my blood pressure because my doctor was concerned. I was on cholesterol medication, and this was all at 25. So that was rock bottom for me when I decided I wanted to start taking things seriously. So at that time,
you're 25 years old. Your wife's having a baby. Baby's in the house. You're the one getting medical attention because of your state of health. And how much did you weigh at that time?
At that time, my heaviest was 330 pounds.
330 pounds,
yeah.
Hooked up to heart rate monitors. His wife is tired and dealing with the baby. He's like, this isn't what I want. But previously in life, because you dealt with this weight, before this, you were accepting this, and this is like who I am. This is part of my identity. And then now, if this is who you are, this is your identity, health crisis at the age of 25, when there's new life that you're responsible for.
Yeah, it was a lot to take in, that just all the emotions involved with, hitting, maybe not realizing at the time, but hitting rock bottom with my health, but then also welcoming new life to this world and having to be there as a father, and all the demands that come with being a new parent. It was a weird time. Obviously I'm happy for my son, but I'm like beating myself up about myself and why it took me this long to realize, hey, I should probably do something about this.
So then what do you do? You realize, like, okay, this is enough. What was your first step?
And quite honestly, I don't even think my first step maybe necessarily started until even 6 months after my son was born, when I felt like I was maybe a little free from the newborn stage and dealing with that plate spinning. But slowly started to get involved in some some group workout classes through First National. So some boot camp classes, slowly trying to get an idea, figure out my eating piece and portion control. I got some stuff from my doctor that wasn't the greatest, but it was at least a starting point for me.
Right. And just to interrupt, because I'm sure a lot of people who are severely overweight or dealing with a health issue and it's weight related, those two things, that's when doctors tend to intervene and try to give you some nutrition advice. But doctors are doctors of medicine. They get little to no nutrition education through their schooling. And a lot of times, I think what you mentioned the other day was they gave you some stuff that looked like it was decades old.
Yeah,
super outdated. Yeah, and as if anyone pays attention to the health and wellness, like, it's been all over the place on what they're saying is good now and bad, and so old advice might not be tried and true. It might be, they just didn't know any better then. So we get a diet plan from the doctor. We're doing some group classes.
Yep. And so I would say things, I started to pick up momentum with trying to get to the gym more, a little of this, a little of that, kind of figuring out along the way what I liked, what I didn't like. Certainly then balancing everything else in life with starting a new job and still with the, kid at home and stuff. But I would say then, kind of coasted through some ups and downs for another year or two. Lost some weight, maybe put some weight back on.
Now,
But then really,
I think you mentioned you got to a point where you got down to, did you say it was like 280, 285 from
I,
you were
I
at 330?
yeah, so I would say my first plateau that I hit was 290. So that was after, really a 40-pound weight loss, which, I know that plateaus
Which
happen.
is huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel like I got stuck there for a long time, over a year, where I could not break it. Although a part of me started to settle again. I was like, damn, like I lost 40 pounds. Like that's great. Like I'm healthy. And the reality was I still wasn't.
Yeah,
I still
you
had,
said you were still wearing the same clothes.
yeah, nothing
Uh,
really changed. I lost the weight and you could tell that I lost weight, but there was still work that had to be done.
yeah.
And so it was, again, balancing, enjoying the ride and enjoying the moment. And hey, I've lost 40 pounds. Let's celebrate and kind of let off the gas a little bit. But I guess that's maybe a regret of mine that I didn't keep, pedal to the metal and just keep pushing through, because I stayed there for a while, couldn't break that 290 mark for a good while, probably up until about 3 years ago, maybe about 3 years ago.
So at some point, you decided to kick it into a higher gear. You had some success on your own. You maintained keeping that weight off, which is no small feat. I like to tell people if you can at least stay as far away from that last time you weighed that heavy, the less likely you are to regain that weight. And then I get into kind of explaining that with some of my clients a little bit in more detail. But what you did was then you needed to kick it into gear again. What'd you do?
Yeah, so at that time, met with a personal trainer at a gym in town here, and you know, had to figure out what was going to work for me. But ultimately, Rebecca and my wife and I started working out together and getting engaged together with this. She has her own incredible story of weight loss through all of this as well, but we were able to be a team about it, which I think changed the game for me, because now my spouse and I are both emotionally invested in my health. It wasn't just me invested in it. It was like my wife being like, "Hey, I'm there for you. Like, let's do this." And I will say that it wasn't easy, maybe necessarily at first, because, especially as a guy, I guess, you have that manly attitude that I can do this. I don't need anybody's help. But the reality
Right,
was I couldn't.
right,
I needed help. I needed the drive. I needed the push from somebody other than myself, because myself let me get as bad as I did. And then
right. And
myself.
then no one really knows what you're doing. Like that trainer. I mean, they can push you and motivate you, but you can not call, not show up, and but if your spouse is on board and supporting you, there's no hiding uh, from that accountability.
No.
And I know myself, like I work out by myself. I a lot of the times, I don't have someone doing my meal plan with me or anything like that, or someone working towards the same goal. But so in that aspect, I'm alone when I'm on my weight loss or whatever phase I'm in. But I know that my wife, 100%, she understands, like, okay, he's got to wake up early and go do cardio, or she'll make me breakfast when I'm in a pinch, which is most mornings, and just having that teammate there makes it a lot easier. And then you're there for her too, and we're going to talk about her story again next time. But just to stay on track here, um, your trainer, you started to implement not just classes and cardio, but you started to do a little bit more strength training.
Yeah. Yep. So that was the direction my wife and I both took, was focusing more on strength training. At least in those pieces, I still got a lot of some cardio and things like that in through my boot camp
Mm-hmm.
boot camps.
Boot
Uh,
camp.
and so those made up about. So I stuck to a five workout day workouts per week. So 3 days a week was my boot camps through First
And then
National.
two hard
And then 2 hard
conditioning
strength
days
training.
with the weights.
Yeah, so
Nice.
5 days of work really. And then I would say throughout all of that too is probably when I got more serious about counting calories and watching the foods I was eating. We were making little adjustments along the way and had a few conversations with nutritionists about what you should eat, what you shouldn't, which helped a lot. But that evolved, I would say, over 5 years of moving away from foods that we learned were not so good for us that perhaps we were told were growing up, and moving
Right.
more to like the better foods for you, right?
Right.
And so I feel like that's just constantly evolving. And I don't count my calories today. I do periodically if I know that I have a hump I got to get over, because I know when those two are in sync, magical things can happen.
Right. It's everyone says like, what diet should I do, or what workout routine do I need to do in order to gain muscle or enable to lose fat or whatever their goal is. And then it's like, it's not which of these do I need to do? It's what combination of diet and exercise, because you could be on a diet program that, your friend lost a lot of weight on, but you're doing strength training. And then, so we're not really going to lose a lot of weight. We're not really going to get as strong as we could until we match both the nutrition plan and the workout. And like you said, the counting of calories mattered. Knowing what your macro intake matters. And for a while, you're using a food scale, and then sometimes you don't need to. And then sometimes I like to, I'll for a couple of days, I'll kind of reweigh my food, and get an idea again. If I feel like, okay, the scale's not moving, am I giving myself a little extra on the rice? And then I'll check it. But it's like, it's something you've learned. You have these skills now of,
Exactly.
you understand nutrition, you understand portion control. And now you can, with confidence, eat and maintain keeping the weight off without necessarily relying on someone on you about it all the time. I mean, there's so many tasks where, like, I think when you teach someone, when you enable them and empower them, that gives them the ability to move forward and really do it themselves down the road and keep the weight off. Like, you don't want to go to a trainer and then lose weight only to come back 6 months later. I gained that 30 pounds back that we lost, ready to do it again.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, on a personal level, without the trainer involved, that happened to me twice. I got down to that, and we'd already talked about the 290 mark, but I made it there multiple times and then would climb back up. I let off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
And times I never got back up to 330 again. So thank God for that. But I crept back up to over 300. It happened once, and I was like, that can't happen again.
Right.
So I think it was like 305. But
you got to kind of set your standard on what's acceptable too. Like if you're on a weight loss program and you're getting on the scale, like, it's okay if it's a couple pounds too high some days, but I tell people, you look for a new low every week. But then if you don't weigh in, like, let's say you're not necessarily dieting at the time, but know where you're like, okay, this is enough. And so after you were at 330 and you lost 40 pounds, 290, 300, you're saying, okay, I can be around 290 right now. I'll settle for this, but warning signs go off if I see 300. And then you dial it back in. And then when you choose to select a new standard, like, okay, this 10-pound weight swing is not the 10-pound weight swing I want. I want to get down further. And then you continue to lose. What are you down to now?
So weigh in today, 235 pounds.
235 pounds. So he's 95 pounds lighter than he was 5 years ago. You have what, 2 kids now?
Yep, 2 kids.
And your wife too. We'll talk about her. What was her weight loss along the way? I know her stories. Maybe it's probably better than yours. They always have better stories.
Quite honestly, I think, I mean, props to my wife. She's a machine with all of this. But she's a short gal, like 5'2". I'm 6'2". She's 5'2". and I won't steal too much from her story, but I thought she was in like the 170 range at her peak with Vinny,
Mhm.
which is, you know, and then
Pregnancy weight too, yeah. Yeah.
she's managed about a 50 pound, almost 60 pound weight loss. I
And
mean,
she's maintained that.
she's maintained it.
And now she's, how old's your youngest?
Amelia is 4.5.
I mean, so she's since the second baby, and she didn't gain as much weight with the second, you said, and I think that's pretty typical because you're
Yeah.
still chasing around that other one. I know my wife didn't gain as much the second and third time as she did the first time, and but each time it was important to her that she got back to health and had that energy and everything. So,
Yeah.
gosh, I'm misremembering if I have any other closing questions here. We don't need to look it up. But I mean, an amazing transformation. It took a long time. It really got kicked into gear when you had you had that expert coach, you had someone pushing you, keeping you accountable. And the whole time you had the support of your spouse, which is immensely important for people.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we discussed, and this was kind of interesting because guys, this is a big point, so I hope people watch this to the end. If not, I'm going to tell everyone at the beginning of the video to just fast forward to this minute mark, because we talked about this, and we talked about having the support being an important aspect of it, but at the end of the day, you knew that you had to do it for you. And I hear
Yeah.
people say that all the time. And so the first thing you said is it wasn't about Rebecca, it wasn't about necessarily the kids, it was about you changing your identity, and being able to be more of yourself. We got at, like, that's almost the least. I believe you don't do it for anyone but yourself,
Yeah.
because you want to be more of yourself to support those people you care about the most. So in a roundabout way, I got to that, but
Yeah.
but
I was just going to add, to that point. Yeah. It's obviously you're there, you want to be a good husband or good spouse. You want to be a good father or mother or whatever, and you want to be healthy and around for them. But, and this is my own opinion, but if you're not doing it for yourself first and them second and third, I feel like you won't be successful until you're ready for the change. And I remember my doctor on that visit, when my son was born, when he's like, dude, get it together. He's like, when you're truly ready for the change, I want you to reach back out to me. And I never did, because I don't know, whatever reason. But
well, you were ready. You just knew that maybe the best advice wasn't going to come from the doctor,
yeah,
or that's not who you needed to seek out. You sought it out internally first, and then you got some classes, and then later on, more different help.
yeah,
But you did seek out help. So we do these things. Not, I mean, it's so cliche when people say, well, I'm not doing it for anyone but myself. Don't do it for anyone but yourself, of course, but you are being your purpose, your why. That's the big reason, or that's the buzzword around like all these podcasts and all these self-improvement things, is why are you doing this? Why do you want to be more of yourself? And the answer was because you wanted to have the confidence, the decisiveness, the empowerment that came with, like, you taking a grip on your identity as a person and saying, I know who I really am. I'm going to be that person. And then this person is going to be able to help my wife better, help my kids better, improve my company, or, my place of work. And then it all encompasses, and just, you're more of yourself. You're able to do and be more for others. I truly believe that.
I agree.
And that's the kind of energy that you've demonstrated. You even got into playing the piano a little bit, trying to find new hobbies and new things to conquer, and the joy and that I see when you were posting those. You just find even more things to be happy about, because you didn't limit yourself. You didn't say, I'm stuck like this is who I am. You said, no, this is who I want to be now. And you made those changes to get to be that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now
I
you
would
get to be
say,
that person for other people, which is even better.
yeah, just kind of on, I guess, ending thoughts. It's been an incredible journey. At the end of the day, knowledge is power. I know that's cheesy, but knowledge is power, and that's ultimately what helped me figure a lot of this out.
I like to
But
say knowledge and purpose.
sure,
You gotta have the know-how, but you gotta have the why. So knowledge and purpose are power.
yeah, yeah. But then knowing when to ask for help and knowing when
Mm-hmm.
you need to accept that maybe there's some things that you can't do. I know I can do a lot of things. I know there's a lot of things that I can't do. And for me, one of the things I couldn't do was get my what together and do then lose the weight and do that. I needed help to do it. I obviously I did the work and I put in the effort and I'm the one, sweated gallons of of sweat, but I
Yeah.
kind of I needed help. I needed somebody to push me, and it came in a couple different directions, right? Through my spouse, through a trainer, through resources, through work. I mean, it came through a lot of different channels to help
Yeah.
me get where I'm at today.
Yeah, you gotta take advantage of the opportunities presented to you, and keep your eyes open for new opportunities that could help you stay on that path.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times people limit their scope of resources. Like, well, I don't have a trainer at the gym that works that's by my work, so I can't have a trainer. Well, there's online trainers,
Mhm.
like this right here. And so my big thing was I wanted to find out how I could help the most people possible. And I'm, as a personal trainer, and I love working one-on-one with people. They're always like how I believe people should exercise, and how I know I can help people. I've always been limited to, do you live within 5 miles of where I work? And so the reason why I'm starting this, and the reason why I want to share the story of Matt here, is because I want to help the most people possible. And if you're listening to Matt, or you listen to just parts of this, and things kind of resonated, like, oh, I've been in that situation, or I'm overweight and my wife's about to have a baby, I don't want to be there, or vice versa for females, like, when we hear Rebecca's story, how she um, had the natural gaining of weight during a pregnancy, but really fought hard to keep it off, and she changed. I mean, she looks phenomenal now.
Mhm.
She's in better health now. You guys are in both better health now than when you guys were 23, young, getting married.
Yeah.
And now you're in your 30s and at peak health. You're healthier than you've been in your entire life.
Yeah.
And like I said yesterday, almost unrecognizable, popping up on the screen here. I'm like, who's this guy? So uh, we'll hear more from Matt and Rebecca another time, but that's it for today. An inspiring story. 95 pounds. We're gonna put him on the treadmill for 24 hours straight and see if we can sweat out. No, just kidding. Sweat out the other 5. No. As we kind of go into the holiday season here, and people are getting ready to get into hibernation mode and in TV mode, and having lost weight and kept it off, like, what are some things that you think about, rather than like oven roasted turkeys and sugar plums coming holiday season? What do you think is, I think, and this is impromptu, I didn't give you this question beforehand,
Yeah.
but what would you say to people, like, maybe you gained 5 pounds during the COVID thing or whatever, your gym was closed, now everything's reopened. Like, are you waiting until next year, January 1? Or what would you say? Keeping the weight off, or start today, or just wait?
Holidays, they're tough. There's food everywhere. This year might look different if everybody's doing their holiday parties from home with their own family, so maybe it looks different. Um, but I guess for me, I was always waiting. Oh, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll start working out tomorrow. I'll start working out next month, or at New Year's. I'm on it. And it's like,
How many years in a row did that happen
oh,
in your
multiple.
head?
Lost track. I mean, year after year, it was like, you know what? I'm
15
gonna get on
years?
it. I'm gonna get through the holidays, and January 1, I'm on it. And then, I was the 2-week warrior that made it to the middle of January. I'm like, well, let's
So
ease up.
if you started like right when you're thinking about it, I always tell people strike while the iron's hot. Like
Yeah,
if you even got the little bit of itch, start going.
you got the itch, start. I mean, it's better than not. And for me, I was year after year, month after month of excuses, and that's all that it ended up being was an excuse to myself. And you're not doing anybody favors, certainly
Mhm.
not yourself.
One other thing I hear people say a lot of the times is they want to get in a little bit better shape before they start working with a trainer. Um, and so a lot of times people try to lose some weight on their own, and I commend their efforts, but I ask them, why would you wait so long? Why would you do all the guesswork when, um, we could fast track this? We could, I've made mistakes trying to gain and lose weight in the past. So I've learned from those. And if you have a trainer who is experienced, has worked with hundreds of people, and has formulated a plan that works for people to lose weight and keep it off. Why would you wait 3 more months? Why would you put yourself through 3 more months of misery? Why wait another year? And I'm going to dabble with it. Like, seek out a professional and fast track it and start now. I always tell people start now. And then it's tough when you start. I don't know what machines to use. I don't know where I should be doing more or less cardio. Should I eat more or less of this? Like, do you want to spend hours filtering through stuff online, or do you want someone to tell you, don't worry, I got you. I've been here before. This is what we need to do right now. And then as people get in better shape, the workouts change, the diets change, everything changes as you change to keep from staying at a plateau too long or falling off and regressing, gaining that weight back. So Matt said, don't wait till next year, year after year. Don't wait till next week, week after week. Start today. And I say start today. And if you don't know what you're doing, let me help you right now, rather than letting you figure out that you have no idea what you're doing in 6 months. Because we could be ready. We could be ready to get back out and enjoy the weather in 6 months and get ready to hit the pools and everything. And if you start trying to lose weight in February, March, like you're probably going to miss that Labor Day weekend and those boat trips down the Ozarks and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
So start today. It takes time. Tried and true here, Matt. Grinded it out, lost 95 pounds. Really did a big run. The last 50 over the past, what do you say, 18 months? You lost
18 to 24 months, yeah, somewhere in that window.
So we put he put up a little post, and I'm going to share that along with this. I mean, amazing transformation, buying all new clothes, moving up in the world. It's great.
The whole new. It sounds so cheesy, and you hear skinny person. I'm not even skinny, but people who've lost weight, you hear them say it time and time again. But it's a different life. My professional life, my relationships with the people that I love, and then the little things like going like to the store to buy clothes. It's a completely different experience than what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
In all positive ways. It's
no longer restricted to the big and tall store. You can shop where you want to shop. No longer limited to this is where the heavier people have to, this is where people like you go. Now you're just like everyone else, and you're more of yourself. You weigh less, but you're more you than you've ever been, and you're no longer limited and restricted, and you've reached this new peak in your life, and maybe you look to ascend further beyond this. But
I might be calling you for one of your programs.
Yeah. We might get you tuned up here, get you back on track. I mean, you're on track, but refocus, reengage, And lots of different diet strategies and workout plans do work. My plan is to find which one of those is going to be best for you. So thank you for everything, Matt. This was amazing. I hope some people heard some things that kind of resonate and stick with them. And if they're intrigued and want to learn more, they can DM me. If anyone wants to reach out, let's tag First National in this too. The corporate, I mean, it's nice when places have corporate wellness centers. That makes it way easier for me as a remote trainer to know that this person has access to a good facility. Like your gym at work is probably good enough. You don't need to necessarily go to a new expensive gym or whatever, but I work at one of those new expensive gyms, and I really enjoy it here too. So but any way is possible. We have to find the path that we can start on now, right? All right.
Yeah, agree.
Thank you very much, Matt. I'm gonna pause this recording here if I know how. Thank you guys, and Matt's gonna stay on for a moment, but thank you very much for listening, and we'll leave this on the page for people to watch anytime. DR Fitness. That was good.
Yeah.
It says that we're still recording.